Welcome to question 131 of the Secunda Secundae. The topic for this lecture is ambition, and I am Dr. Thibault. We are still under the virtue of fortitude, under the part of virtue of magnanimity. Now we are looking at the vices attached to magnanimity, the excesses particularly. Dealing with presumption, ambition, and vainglory. And then the deficiency we will study as well. So we're looking at ambition this time. So when St. Thomas introduces ambition as a contrary to magnificence, he makes a distinction between ambition, this idea of wanting honors for the sake of honor, separated from the idea of the virtue of honor, which is perfectly fine. So not all honor is bad, right? Magnanimity is about honor. So, in some ways it's fine. So if one has something divine within him and recognizes that God is the principle of that honor, that's nothing wrong with that. Therefore I'm pretty decent. All right, but it all comes from God. Anything that I do comes from God. Nothing wrong with that, because anything that is honored in you, you're passing forward to God. Also, if man excels in something that God has given him, it is not for his own sake, but for the sake of others. So this is taller Dominican priest wrote about. If we shouldn't be envious of St. Paul, because God has chosen St. Paul in a special way. St. Paul was chosen in a special way, not for St. Paul's own sake, but for the sake of Christianity, for the sake of the community. So St. Paul was chosen for my sake, right, on your sake. So therefore, we shouldn't be jealous of St. Paul. So is St. Paul worthy of honor? Yes, but because God worked in him, that he pointed that honor back to God, and that it was for the sake of others that God had selected him. The same thing you could say with Israel is the chosen nation. Well, yes, but not really for Israel's own sake. God chose Israel to be a blessing for the nations. So it wasn't just about God picking Israel and who cares about everyone else. So it was like how God chooses a priest. Right? God chooses somebody to be a priest, but it's not for their own sake. It's for the sake of the community that the person is called to be a priest. One is chosen to be called out. So therefore there is honor, but it's not for its own sake. But that's perfectly fine to honor that. Now, when you're dealing with the sin of ambition, one is not using it for the sake of others or pointing it back to God, but holding it for oneself. So St. Thomas points out these three ways. So man desires recognition of excellence, which he has not, right? So taking credit for something that he doesn't even have in the first place. So that would be ambition. Man desires honor for himself without referring it back to God. Again, ambition. And if a man's appetites rest in honor itself without referring it to others' profit, ambition. If somebody, just as an example, if somebody wants a lot of power, money, pleasure, or honor to have it themselves, they miss the point of why God has bestowed it on them. If God has bestowed that on them, it's for them to use it. Right? If a person has been very successful with money, it's not for the person to just have, but to use well as a good steward. Same thing with honor. One has been given honor, pass it on, pass it on, pass it back to God, pass it back to neighbor, right? Because ultimately this would be about charity, love of God and love of neighbor, right? Not dwelling within it. It's always ambition would always therefore then be a sin because it's an inordinate desire for honors. Um, so because it's inordinate, right, not properly ordered, it is always a sin by definition. If you had received honors and you used it for the good of others, then that's not ambition, right? It's just properly used honor, which might be magnanimity, which is the virtue. This is a matter of excess. It's too much. Ambition is an excess of magnanimity. Ambition signifies, again, inordinate love of honor, improperly ordered. One loves honor more than the honorable thing. A person should be honored when they have done the honorable. But if somebody just wants the honors without doing the honorable, they miss the point, right? I use in one of my classes is somebody like dictator, Amin, right? If you ever see a picture of an African dictator, they're often in a military garb, covered in medals, right? Honors, they're covered in honors, but they've done nothing honorable, right? So if they want to be perceived by others as worthy of honor, but they've done nothing honorable, it's an excess of ambition, right? An excess of magnanimity. They could do something great, and then they would be honored. But instead of doing something great, they just do something to try to get the honors without doing something. Using a line from Tully or Cicero, the more a man exceeds in magnanimity, the more he desires himself alone to dominate others. It's very true, the image of the African dictator. The more you want to be perceived as honorable, the more atrocities you will perform. You can't show power in a good way, you show it in a destructive way. Now, magnanimity is about using honors in a becoming way, right? So we covered this in question 29. When we covered magnanimity, we covered it where it was used in a good way, right? It's good to be honored when you have done something honorable because you've taken on a noble undertaking. So only 2 articles long, so it's a very quick one. But ambition is a sin. Ambition is opposed to magnanimity by its excess. If it were properly ordered, it would be magnanimity, but because it's all about the perception of honor, it's just ambition. Okay, that's all we have here. So I will see you next when we cover vainglory.